Welcome, Ash Morgan, to the Empowered Spirituality Podcast.
Hello.
Oh, it's so great to have you. The way that I found you is actually really cool. I was following you on Instagram for a while. And then maybe I told you this at midnight one night randomly. I opened my phone and I went to your page, I felt guided there. And that's when I saw that you were offering half price. And this was a while ago, half price breathwork sessions. And I just thought, oh, I was guided to her page for this reason. And I booked it and it was amazing. And just the work you do in general is so awesome. So I'm so excited to have you.
Wow. I don't know if you told me that or not, but that makes me so happy. It's cool to see. I've done that with other spiritual people, and it's really cool to see that come back around to me. That feels really, really good. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. It is a weird experience. I've had that too, where people will quote things back to me that I've said. And I'm like, whoa, I said that.
Yeah.
And also you remembered? That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool experience. Well, I'm going to start with pulling a card. I'm going to pull from the Good Tarot deck, and this is by Colette Baron Reed.
Right.
So I always say this card could be just for me, just for you. Could be for a listener. It could inform the conversation, or it could not. It'll be interesting to see what comes up. And this coming out at me.
Tarot roulette. Let's go.
This is the Seven of Air, which would be. Here, I'm going to look it up. I think it would be Swords in the traditional deck, but I still read from the booklet.
I do too.
It's a lot to memorize.
I know. I usually go to biddytarot.com and just read what they say.
I do too. That's one of my favorites. So air is mind, and it represents swords. So it's technically the Seven of Swords. And the description is independence, nonconformity. Oh, this is good. Living life on one's own terms without people pleasing. And the affirmation is, now is the time for me to live life on my own terms. So I must find the courage to reject conformity. Listening to my yearning for independence is key to breaking free of groupthink and attending to my own needs. Diplomacy with others can help me be true to my call to do what I know I must do for myself. And that is so applicable to today's episode, I think.
Yeah, and it's funny because that's very, very, very similar to what I pulled for myself this morning. So, of course, yeah.
Wow. So it's a double whammy for you.
I know. Wow. Okay. My guides are just like, Ash, get rid of what no longer serves you and just do your thing.
Yes. Wow. So let's just jump right in. Living your life on your own terms. I know that's something that you are doing, and you have a lot of helpful content that inspires other people to live life on their own terms.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah. What was that journey like for you to figure out what your own terms were and how to get there?
Okay. So, do you want to hear kind of my spiritual and coming out journey then?
Yeah, let's do it.
That'd be a good place to start. Yeah. This could be a really long story, so I'll try to shorten it as much as possible. But basically, I was raised very religiously. I was raised in a Mormon household, or the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, their full name. My parents are amazing. They are incredible. We're really close. I don't hold anything against them, but the actual religion itself was maybe not the most helpful for me personally, especially as a queer person and a witchy person. It just is very much a high demand religion and very conservative. And so I kind of was raised hating my queerness and I was like a star student Mormon, I would say. I truly did everything. I was like a kid that would raise their hand in class and shared all their thoughts and wrote notes in church and was the class pet to all of my church teachers. That was me, and I was just so deeply ingrained. I was in the sauce. I truly didn't even consider that it could not be true. And I actually ended up getting married to a man at age 19 because it was the next thing that you do. It was the step. I was really drinking the Kool-Aid. That was the thing that I wanted. It was this thing that I had been dreaming about my whole life. and getting married and actually realizing it wasn't like, oh, as great as I thought it would be, or there were a lot of things that were missing for me that I didn't realize. Like it was, you know, it was eye-opening. And within my marriage is when I actually started to start thinking for myself a little bit more. I started figuring out the fact that I was queer. I started, I guess, accepting that about myself, acknowledging it, recognizing that it wasn't normal to think that all women were really beautiful and like your partner was just like, eh. Like I remember I had multiple girlfriends who were married and they would talk about, I had like this, it's a specific moment that's burned in my brain. I was talking to my friends and they were like, oh, my husband, like he just drives me so crazy. He's so annoying. But then I just look at him and he's just so hot. And I just like can't stay mad at him. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, people think that about their husbands. Like I've never thought that about my husband. I'm always just like, like it just wasn't, I didn't look at, I had an emotional connection. That was like, I thought that emotional connection was, you know, romantic attraction. And so there were just all these little moments that like hit me and I started realizing this isn't normal. Maybe there's something to this. And I felt so guilty, felt like a terrible person. Around that same time, I started discovering spirituality. I actually was, if anyone knows anything about Mormonism, they have those temples. They have like big temples that nobody except for members can go into, and not even all members can go in. You have to like be interviewed and asserted that you were worthy before you can go in. I actually used to work in those temples. I like volunteered every Wednesday at like 6 a.m., would work a 6 hour shift there, doing all of the rites, I guess, like laying my hands on people's head, doing all these spiritual things, I guess, the Mormon rituals. And I actually started getting interested in like witchcraft and crystals and herbs and stuff while I was still working in the temple. And I remember was starting to like lose my faith, mostly because the church was so high demand that it was making me really depressed. And I started like getting interested in other modalities, but I just felt like it was so bad. I like literally was Googling, or I was literally on Amazon, just like looking at little like witchcraft kits with like different herbs and stuff, and just like secretly looking at it and like, oh my God, nobody can see that I'm looking at this because it's witchcraft. You know?
Yeah.
It's crazy now because I'm like so in it, but like back then I truly thought that it was like a sin that I was even looking at that stuff. But yeah, it finally just like all came to a head for me. I took a little break from the church because I actually went out on, there's so much like Mormon lingo, splits with the sister missionaries. So our in the Mormon church, a lot of people go and like spend 2 years of their lives promoting the church. And there's a thing called splits where the members in the local areas can go out with the missionaries that are in their area and help like share their testimony with people who are like investigating the church and basically just like help further affirm like how great the church is. And so I had signed up to go on splits with the sister missionaries because I never felt like I was doing enough in the church, even though it's a very high demand church. And I remember going out and just being like, something feels wrong to me. Like, it doesn't feel right. Like, I couldn't even put it in words. There just was something off. And I went home and I remember just crying to God and being like, I just wish I could be like a little carefree, like witch, but I know I can't. Like, I know the church is true. And I basically told God, I was like, I'm going to take a week break off. I just need a week break off.
Wow.
To like not obsess about reading my scriptures every day, to not go into the temple, to not like, we had these like free, everybody had like a calling or like a job at church that you had to do for free that you were assigned. And like, I was just like, okay, I would like cry out before church almost every week because I was so stressed with all the things that I had to do. And I just was like, you know what, this week I'm not thinking about church, nothing church. Like, I'm not even going to go there. And it was crazy because as soon as I did that, all of a sudden my brain started thinking like, okay, well, we've been told that we're not allowed to look into the history of the church because it's like anti-Mormon literature. Yeah. And I was like, why is that? Like, if the church is true, then why would like learning about the history be bad, you know? And so I kind of went down this like rabbit hole, looked into history. I found this guy had compiled like this 80-page paper called the CES letter about all of the like bad history of the church. And I'm like Mormon blood. I am the great, 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 great granddaughter of the second Mormon prophet. So I'm in it. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I'm very, very Mormon. And reading all that stuff about the church and all the like real things of who these people were and the prophets and all the terrible things that they did, including polygamy and marrying young girls and just all this like terrible, terrible stuff. And my grandpa was one of the worst. I just was like,
Wow.
this is terrible. I literally read it all in one sitting in like an hour and a half. And after that, I started out reading it, being a believer. And then at the very end, I was like, nope, this is bullshit. Like, I just knew it was not true. So that was an interesting transition. I was still working in the temple at that time. So I literally had to like tell them that I wasn't going to do that anymore. And then I'd tell my husband. And then my second thought, like as soon as I had the thought that, oh, the church isn't true, my second thought was, I'm a lesbian. It's just like it all came to me. And then everything about the church that I hadn't been sure about, like supporting gay people or like the feminism issues and all these different things, like they all just like came to me. And there's so many things that I had like issues with like feeling a little bit more liberal leaning on things, but being like, no, I can't think like that because this is what the church tells us to think. All of a sudden I just was like, wow, I can think whatever I want. And I completely disagree with this, and this, you know? Wow. It was such a freeing but terrifying moment for me.
Wow. It sounds like a flip really just, a switch flipped for you.
It really did. Yeah, it's crazy. And I feel like from what I've experienced with talking to other Mormons, or ex-Mormons, I feel like the ones that were the most invested in it, like the ones that you would never think would leave, that were like so crazy intense about it, are the ones who have those switches. And it's just like, something happens for them, their shelf breaks, and they just fall hard, and it's painful, and it is, there's no words that can really describe that feeling of like your whole reality being fake.
Wow. Yeah. I'm sure you think about this, but I wonder what that version of you, like the 19-year-old, would think about if she could just have like a little peek into your life now and how free
I've thought about this a lot. Yeah, I thought about this a lot. And I feel like there's half of me that thinks that she would just be like, oh no. Like there's this scripture in the Book of Mormon that talks about how in the last days, even the most elect will fall. Basically, Satan will lead away the most like highest, greatest people in the church. And that was a scripture that like fear-mongered me for a long time. And I feel like that is something that like 19-year-old me would look at and be like, I have fallen, like I let myself fall. I think half of me thinks that, and the other half of me is like, well, maybe I would like recognize the fact that, oh, this all makes so much sense to me, and maybe I should trust myself. I don't know. I don't know if it would save me, if I could go back in time, if it would save me any time or not. But
yeah. Wow. That is such a beautiful and such a painful story. I'm sure it didn't feel beautiful in the moment.
It was hard. My ex-husband basically thought that the devil was like taking over me. Yeah. And so there was a lot of therapy. He didn't want me going to therapy. You know, there's a lot of things that went on. And our relationship was toxic on top of me being a lesbian and leaving the church. And I, won't go into that. But we ended up getting divorced about a year later after I left the church. And that was a very good thing, probably for both of us.
Yeah, right. Oh,
but yeah, I definitely felt more space after that point to be my full witchy, authentic self. But you would think that I would immediately just be like thriving. Like I broke up with him and I was like, oh my God, I'm a lesbian and I'm really witchy, blah, blah, blah. But like, as soon as I was able to actually be those things, like reality set in. I was like, oh, I haven't flirted with anybody in 3 years. I don't even know how to flirt with anyone, let alone girls. Don't know what to do. Like, how do I even talk to a girl? No idea. Like, I was completely like, the thought of anyone even knowing that I was queer, like, made me just sob, cry, like deeply. I was so deeply ashamed of it. And I didn't want anybody that I knew to know. And so like I was so deeply in the closet that it's not like I was like out and proud on social media and being like, who wants to date me or anything, So I had to rely on dating apps, and I just did not find anyone that I was interested in. So I, ended up making the mistake of getting back into another heterosexual relationship and ended up figuring everything out in that relationship, and then leaving and being in a space to actually like fully, I feel like that relationship, I started realizing like, no, this is actually how I feel. And luckily he was really kind and helped me work through all that stuff. But I feel like now I'm at a place where I'm just like, okay, now I can be myself. Like I'm tired of like pretending, tired of like trying to like push myself down for other people. And that includes both my sexuality and my spirituality. I feel like even recently, I feel like I was in the like broom closet, I guess,
Yeah, right.
for a long time until the last few months. Like I would casually put little spiritual things on my Instagram, but I was really like, I'm a very woo-woo person. I have some very like, I guess, out there beliefs, and it's kind of terrifying to like put things that are really important to you that you really like your deepest beliefs on the internet and then just let people tear them apart, you know?
Yes.
So
Oh,
I'm
I
working
hear
on
that.
this right now, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I hear you. I didn't grow up Mormon or religious, but everyone in my town was basically either a Baptist or a Mormon. And it was
Oh,
a very,
really?
yeah, it's a very small town. And so everyone knew each other. And the school was basically religious, which, like, shouldn't really be
Okay, yeah.
allowed.
I remember you telling me about this. Yeah.
We, in biology class, the teacher said, but if you want the real truth, you can read the Bible instead. So, you know, um,
Yep.
unpacking that, of course. But now I'm doing something where I have a podcast and a business that's completely around like witchy spirituality stuff that could send me to hell in my younger self's
Mhm.
belief. So I hear you on unpacking that. It's very scary. And what you're doing, though, is so brave with sexuality, also with the awesome history stuff that you do. You're really just putting yourself out there. And yes, I know people are probably very mean and it probably hurts, but you're helping so many people and touching the hearts of so many. It's really special.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, people definitely have something to say about everything. And I think that's something I've been realizing as a content creator too. It gets very emotionally draining. Sometimes I want to just literally delete my Instagram and just be like, F it, like I'm over it.
Yeah.
But the more I, the longer, like the more time goes on, the more I realize like no matter what I say or do or think, somebody has something to say about it. And why then would I like try to play it safe when I can just be more authentic to myself? And the people who don't resonate with that can leave. And that's another thing I feel like I've been realizing is that like we're in such a culture of like likes and followers and
Mhm.
engagement and blah blah blah. And I've been realizing like there's actually nothing wrong with like letting people leave, letting people unfollow you, and just being like, you know what, I would rather have less followers who are more engaged and actually care about what I'm posting than people who are like following me and just like rolling their eyes every time they see me post something, or you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's been a transition I'm working on. Is trying to
Yeah.
like let go of that ego and be like, no, I actually do want to just attract the people who are meant to be with me. And like it has nothing to do with me if people leave. It's we're just into different things and that's fine.
Oh, that's beautiful. I was actually thinking about that recently too, about the algorithm. And like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like maybe I should try and figure it out if I want more followers or whatever. But it's just so, it changes all the time. And you have to like put so much energy into it. And it's
Yeah.
not real.
Yeah.
like, it's not a real
No,
thing. It's just
that's
someone made that
exactly how I've
up.
been feeling. Yeah. It's like you're like we're living in a matrix. That's how it feels. Like I've especially the more into spirituality I get, the more I'm just like, this is so dumb. This is like my fake life, you know? And I'm just like, I was a really good little Instagrammer for and TikToker for a while where I was like posting reels or photos almost every day. I was like technically if you really I've read so much stuff about the algorithm. If you really want to like be good with the algorithm, you should be posting a Instagram story every 2 hours throughout the day in order to keep up your algorithm and be posting every single day. On TikTok, you should be posting multiple times a day. But it finally hit me. I'm like, I'm not a machine. I have things to do other than make reels all day. And I'm so tired of all this constant like short form content. To be honest, I'm so over reels right now, reels and TikToks. Like I'm trying to like get back into it and to realize that like, you know, they can be good too, but I'm tired of this like this need to like constantly pump out content. Like, okay,
Yeah.
make something new for me. Like today, another one, another. It's just it's exhausting. And I'm a human being and I have things like I don't know. It's not all I want to like focus my whole life on.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. And it's so affirming to hear you say that. And it's also like another way that sneaky bitch internalized capitalism works its
Right.
way in. It's so
Yes.
sneaky.
I know. I literally did a meditation, like a breathwork session the other day. about all this because I was so stressed about all the things that I felt like I had to do because I'm balancing so many different things, I have so many different interests. But then social media is where I make my money, but then it's the thing that I'm the least passionate about right now. And like, so I've just was like trying to balance everything in my head and like stressed about money and stressed about all the things that I feel like I have to do. And I had this feeling during my breath work meditation that like, of course this is hard for you because like you're not like, I mean, I believe in past lives. And like the feeling was like, you're not used to living in a capitalistic society. Like most people throughout the centuries have not lived like this. Like this is a fairly decently new thing, especially the way that we do it. I mean, even like back into the 1800s, it wasn't as vigorous. People were not expecting you to like be put on show on a little like a tablet or phone every single day, making all this constant, like, it's just not something that we're used to, and not, I don't know. It's like humans used to literally be in communities together and like help you have community gardens and help rear all the children together. And like, we've kind of lost that, and
yeah,
I don't know. There's nice things about technology in the new age, but I've been really thinking lately, like, is this actually better than it used to? Like, I'm glad that, we're more woke about, social justice issues and such, but like, are we really more woke to have technology as opposed to like living in a more relaxed society like that? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I feel like that topic comes up almost once an episode, something around
Really?
that. How we live now. Oh, I saw this one thing, or no, I heard it on my favorite podcast, which is Just Break Up. And one of the hosts, Sierra, was saying that if the whole existence of human life was a year, social media would be like the last couple seconds of the year.
Seriously, yeah. I mean,
so
social
cool.
media literally just came about when I was in high school. Like,
yeah,
that's crazy. I went all the way through like junior high with none of that. I didn't even have my own like a smartphone until my senior year of high school. Like it's wild. And now my sisters are growing up with literally like their likes and like trying to be like affirmed through social media every day. And I can't even imagine how emotionally exhausting that is as a teenager. I don't know. Obviously I'm like an influencer, and so it seems kind of interesting coming from me, but like I'm getting more and more disenchanted with social media. I feel like the more that time goes on.
Yeah. Well, I think you're the perfect person for it to come from, because you know what it's like, and you're still giving that affirmation that it's okay to be yourself. And our card today is just so perfect for that.
Oh, so cool. It is.
Oh, you're so cool. I want to talk about breath work.
Yeah.
But first, I think I want to talk. Oh, I just wanted to side note and say I've actually been in a temple before.
Really?
There was one opening in Arizona. And so I had to put those like little slippers on and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was so beautiful. There was like this huge tub, and there were like ox or something.
Yeah.
Like
baptismal font.
Yes. It was
that's
so
where you
beautiful.
That's where you baptize the dead after they're dead.
Oh, that's what that's for?
Yep.
Wow. That is beautiful in its own way.
I mean, when you really believe in it, it does make sense. You're trying to bring every soul into the gospel, even after death.
Wow.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It is beautiful in a way. Yeah. Wait, which location were you in Arizona? Where you at? Do you know what city?
It starts with an S. I want to say Stanford, but that's not. Safford.
Safford. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that around where you're from?
That one. No, I'm from Mesa, Arizona.
Cool.
And Safford, I think that's over by
New Mexico.
Pine Top and stuff. Oh, it's by New Mexico. Yeah. Okay, I think I know where that one is.
Oh, that's so cool. I mean, I could go on a tangent.
Oh, wait. Is Safford by Thatcher? I think it is. Okay, my family's from Thatcher. Yeah, so that makes sense.
That is so great. We're so close.
I know, that's wait, are you from Arizona too?
I'm from New Mexico. I'm from like the Silver City area.
Oh my God. Okay, that's so funny. Wow, that's so funny. You went through an open house.
I know. Yeah, it was beautiful. And actually, that reminded me, the story you said about you would put your hands on people and bless them. It's so beautiful because you were doing your spiritual work then, just under a different name or under a different like organization, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, I think it's almost funny that that Christians and Mormons are kind of like against witchy things. I think a lot of more modern Mormons are less are getting more into like all the woo-woo stuff. But
Mhm.
I mean, when I was growing up, that wasn't cool or that wasn't good, you know. But I always think it's interesting because Mormons have a lot of very ritualistic things. So do all Christians, if you look at it. We
Yeah.
all have like every religion is just a bunch of weird rituals when you really like separate them and look at them. We do weird stuff, you know? So how's that any different than like woo-woo witchy stuff?
Yes. I went to a Catholic mass. We had a funeral, and there's someone in my partner's family who's witchy like me. And she looked at me and she was all, this is all taken from witches, right? And I was like,
Yeah,
yes. So
it
it's so
is. Yeah.
interesting to be like,
A bunch a bunch of things are taken from the pagan religions when they were trying to like go from paganism to Christianity. I mean, Christmas was a pagan religion, so love
mhm. Oh, I
that.
could go off on that.
I know. Well, of course, correct.
Yeah, I know. Um, oh yeah, but before we move on to breath work, I wanted to touch on the experience you had of telling the truth. And you told it in segments, but especially thinking of the experience you had of telling the people at your temple that you were no longer going to work there. Um, you don't have to get into detail, but like, do you have any advice maybe for someone who knows something to be true in their body or their heart, but it's really hard to have that conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this comes up for me a lot with I get so many DMs of people asking me who are like have figured out that they are queer or lesbian within a straight marriage too. And I get a ton of people asking me like what to do about that situation, which I feel like those two are so similar. They're so interlinked.
Yeah.
Um, my answer always is kind of what you're saying, like you feel it in your body, you know it, is to stop trying to like push back your intuition. I feel like I did that for a long time with spirituality and my sexuality of just like second guessing myself. And I think that would be my answer is like reflect, think for yourself, like have a night where you really like feel into what you feel and what feels right for you and what you know deep in your gut, like that knowing that's inside of you. Maybe write that down and just kind of set the intention of no matter what anybody else says, I'm going to stick to this because I know that this is my truth. Because I'm a people pleaser and I know that like through this whole process for me, I would try to like have these conversations like with my ex-husband, for example, or different religious people. And I like would almost feel their feelings because I will get like empathic and I'll start to feel how they feel and like how they're where they're coming from. And then I would kind of just like revert and be like, oh, you're right, you're right. Like I must be wrong or selfish for feeling this way. But I guess just like noticing that that's something that can happen, like accepting that that's a thing that might happen to you. And that of course this person or religion or like whoever is going to try to dissuade you. Like they obviously in the when it comes to religion, they think that they're literally playing with like your soul here. Like they don't want you to lose your soul or go to hell. It's not usually
Yeah.
malignant or like with the partner, they don't want to lose you, but just recognizing that like it's not selfish of you to listen to what you feel deep down, because I think it's actually more messed up to stay in a situation that isn't authentic to you because you're just wasting yours and everybody else's time. So ultimately, like I know it sounds easy for me to say this, but like these are things you have to like internalize. Like I finally had to get to the point of like trying to speak my truth so much, but then like getting shot down so much that I finally had to be like, you know what? I cannot handle this anymore. I cannot stay in this experience anymore. Like it's either I live authentically or I don't live at all. That's literally where I got to. And so I think, yeah, just affirming what you believe, what you think, what you know, and then going into it and being like, I'm sorry if I hurt anybody, but like this is my truth and I have to stand by that. I don't know if there's really any other easy way to do it, to say that. Like you
Right.
just have to figure out how to like hold true to what you believe.
Mm. Thank you for sharing. That was really beautiful. And I think also like having compassion for ourselves when we have a hard talk and we want to say something and we end up saying, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like that's probably going to happen
Yeah.
and it's okay. Like
Yeah.
it's part of the journey. It's hard to go from one extreme to the other. So if people slip up or not even
Yeah.
slip up, if that's something they experience, it's okay. You can always try
Well,
again.
especially with like a really big transition. like leaving a religion, leaving a partnership, coming out, any of those things, like you can't expect yourself to, I mean, you can't expect it to go smoothly right away. Like like you said, you are going to mess up sometimes, and that's okay. Yeah. We're all human. We're trying our best.
Yeah. Thank you, Ash. You're so awesome. So I want to talk about breath work. I mentioned I've had sessions with you, and it's a transformational experience. And I saw you posted this online once that it's hard to explain it. And it is hard, but if I could explain it, it feels magical.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was wondering if you could maybe start with like what breath work is, and then also what it is that you do.
Yeah. So breath work, there's multiple different types of breath work. I personally work with pranayama breath work. And so pranayama it was a, wow, sorry, words. It was a practice that was used in conjunction with yoga. So it was basically created around the same time, same area. And yoga obviously is intended to like kind of work your body, and it helps kind of move things through your system and stuff. But the pranayama breath work is much deeper than that. It kind of clears you out on a more energetic level. And the idea of it is, I mean, I don't know if all of you guys have heard of Kundalini, but like Kundalini energy is like the snake-like energy, basically, that goes all along your spine. And it often is kind of like a feminine or sexual energy, but it's not all sexual, it's just a very intense like energy in your body. So the idea of pranayama is that it's basically operating off of the belief that any disease in your body, whether that's emotional, physical, whatever, any mental health issues, anything that's going on with you, comes from deep stored emotions and traumas that are being held in your body still. So basically anything negative that happens to us, if we don't know how to process it out, is going to stick to us and stay in different parts of our body. So pranayama basically is a breath technique that opens up that Kundalini energy and moves it up through your body, up through your spine. So like, I like to think of it as like these negative emotions or traumas that you have are like tightly wound around your spine in different spots. And then when you start doing the breath work, it basically just unwinds, like slowly unwinds those traumas, and then like gets them free from your spine to be able to move up and out of you. Which sounds like it's kind of crazy, but when you start experiencing it, it makes a lot more sense. But basically like what it feels like is it's a 3-part breath. You're breathing deeply through your mouth and out, and like you're going at a particular rhythm. You're basically taking in a ton of oxygen. You're like oxygenizing, that's the word, your body, and oxygenating, there you go, your body, and moving all that stuff out. Yeah, it's hard to put in words, hard to fully explain, but
yeah, you mentioned like the word cleansing, I think, at some point, and that is, it feels like an energetic like shake and then release, kind of.
Yes. Yeah, and I like to tell my clients, I think I probably told you this, that I've felt personally, from like my guides or whatever you personally like to call them, I've felt that the breath work sometimes can be a little painful or uncomfortable, I guess, because it hurt coming in and it hurts coming out. That's the feeling that I've had personally, especially as I've worked through different like sexual trauma and things. The deeper the trauma you're working through, the more intense energy that is going to come up in your body. And it's unlike anything else. Like I think it kind of takes people off guard sometimes how much really like the energy really is swirling in their bodies. It can kind of mimic a little bit of a panic attack at first, but if you already know that going into it, and know what to look for and the sensations you're going to feel, and you have like a guide like me with you, I think it's best probably to do pranayama for the first time with somebody who's guiding you through it and who's explaining everything to you so that you feel safe and held in that moment, and reminded that you're safe to be in your body at any given moment. I feel like it is kind of it's not like an easy process, but I have full faith that like each person has the ability to heal themselves, and pranayama is a vehicle to do that. I'm just like facilitating it. I'm just making sure you feel safe, but you're doing your own healing.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Um, you just reminded me that I actually think I did that on my own on accident.
Oh,
In my very early, like I would do chakra guided meditations and stuff as my like intro. And I remember I had a similar feeling of like intense energy, and but it felt really scary because I did it by myself and I didn't know what was happening. And so when you say that it's good to have a guide, it really is. And also, you are an amazing guide. And
oh,
I've worked
thank
with other
you.
people before, and you are really, really good at
Thank you. That makes me so happy.
it. Good. Yeah, I think I told like everyone I knew
Oh my
about
God,
it.
you're so nice. So nice.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was wonderful. I actually was just telling my dad about it. I was talking to him on the
Oh,
phone. Yeah, I ended up seeing my grandmother, which is his mom, in our first session. And then so I was describing to him what that was like, and he thought it was really cool.
oh, that's amazing. I know. I still need to do sessions on all of my family members. I've done it on my sister. I actually haven't even done one on my girlfriend yet. We keep on meaning to, but I don't want to do just like one of like every time I do my breath work, I don't want to just have her join in on it because I want to like do a specific session on her, and I want like her first session to be really good. And we've just been so
Hmm.
busy. But yeah, hopefully that's coming soon because I really want to like show that to her and my family members. I feel like it's kind of a scary thing almost for me to be like, it's like vulnerable, you know?
Yeah, I can relate to that for sure. And yeah, it's a different role that people are seeing you in, which is sometimes
Hmm.
weird and just
Yeah,
weird.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So you got certified like 4 months ago when this comes out or so. I'm curious what the journey to getting certified was for you, or why you were drawn to that.
Yeah, so I actually had been feeling the calling of being a healer for multiple years. Um, but I just didn't take that seriously. I don't know, like I
Yeah.
felt that feeling from my guides and I was like, okay, cool. But I didn't know if I was going to go into like an actual spirituality healing role as like a profession in any way. And I
Yeah.
just was still, like I said, in the broom closet about my spirituality, really. And I just never really found something that I was like, wow, this is the thing that I feel so strongly about, that this is going to help people. Like, I didn't want to just get certified in something that I like thought was okay, but wouldn't really, change anything or help anything with anyone. And then, so what you were telling me about how you like felt like looking at my Instagram account at that one time, and I just
Mhm.
posted about that. That happened to me with another spirituality mentor gal that I follow. I had the feeling to like look at her page, and I saw that she had just barely released a course about like manifesting. It was called Quantum Leap 3.0, and it was all about like getting into the quantum field and like basically like timeline jumping and becoming the person that you want to be like now. And so I bought the
Yeah.
course, and she's actually certified in pranayama breathwork as well.
Mm.
And she like was hyping up to everybody like there's a breathwork recording at the end, like after you've finished everything else, there's a breathwork recording. This is like magic. This is amazing. You're gonna be obsessed with it. And I was like, okay, like breathwork, breathing, like okay. Like I think most people
Mhm.
that hear it are just like breathing, I can do that on my own for free. And like like what's that gonna do? Like how cool, it'll get me calm, I guess.
Right.
So she did a really good job about like writing everything out to expect, tell like she had a little like intro part before her recording, really like explaining everything that we were gonna experience. Um, and yeah, she wasn't joking. the she led us through the breath work, and I love the way that she did it and the way that she facilitated. And it was so just huge for me. I felt like I've done her specific recording like multiple times, and I had some moments that were just truly life changing, and I felt like I was making headway on releasing like sexual trauma and stuff like more in one session than I had in like 7 years of therapy. Like there were just these crazy things that were happening for me, and so I don't know, after a few of those sessions with myself, I guess I was like, I need to learn how to do this. I need to do this. Like, this is amazing. I need to share it with other people. So I messaged her, asked her who she got certified by, and I signed up to be in the class with her mentor, David Elliott. And so, yeah, in January, I got certified, and I had a lot of imposter syndrome. I just was like, who am I to be a healer? I've never done anything like this. I'm going from being like an Instagram, like professional lesbian, basically, like an Instagram lesbian, to literally like doing pranayama breath work. Like, who's going to take me seriously? Like, I don't know. Like, I have no idea how to do this, you know?
Yeah.
But it was crazy. I feel like even just I'd never facilitated anything or done any kind of anything with anyone before. And in my course, they like split us up into groups of 2, and we had to do the breath work on each other. And I was so terrified. In fact, I had my the girl that I was working with, my partner, I had her do a session on me first, and I like breathed through my disbelief and like not believing in myself and being afraid of like being a healer and stuff. And I like bawled. Had such a crazy experience with that. And then I don't know, I was just like in the zone, and I feel like I felt so just in the zone when I was doing it on other people in my class. And then afterwards, I just feel like it's come very, very naturally to me. And I was kind of shocked. And it's crazy because I had felt this strong like feeling over and over and over and over again to get certified and to do it, and that I was a healer, blah blah blah. But it's like I didn't fully believe it until I would do a session. And still, every single session, like our session, every other person that I've done, there's this feeling in my mind that I'm just like, oh, are they liking it? Are they getting anything from it? Do they like, am I saying the right things? Is this annoying? Like, was that like too much to say, or blah blah blah? Like, I second guess myself, and I would be so unsure about how people were experiencing, like how they were feeling, until the very end, until after like we finished the breath work and then the meditation at the end. And then every single person would get up and be like, oh my God, that was incredible. That was amazing. You were so right. Like, you really don't know how to explain it until you experience it, you know, like, and it's been such a beautiful journey to realize like, I'm just a vehicle, and I've just, you know, it's great to be able to share this with other people, basically.
Yeah. Oh, I hear you on that inner critic or that imposter syndrome. And I actually wanted to touch on this earlier, but I forgot. I'll even catch that, like, I don't know what to call it, like internalized religion or something, like come up whenever like, for example, my room is obviously very witchy that I do stuff in. This is our second bedroom, and my partner's grandparents were staying with us this week. And so I felt like really nervous, like it's obviously very witchy and they're not. And I felt so ashamed. And I even asked, should I take down everything? And he was like, no, they don't take down their crosses when you go over to their house. But I feel like that like voice of like, this isn't real, or like on one end, or like you're going to go to hell, or like, this is bad, this is wrong, this is scary, like comes up a lot. Do you feel like you have to navigate through that sometimes as well?
Yeah, I feel like maybe not the religion part as much, but more of like, I feel like I've done a lot of work on that. I mean, I have a lot of religious things that come up for me, but maybe not that exact thing. I think it's more of the feeling of, am I crazy that you're saying? Like, am I crazy? Or this works for me and I feel this way when I do breath work, but will other people? Like, is this just my own brand of crazy, or will other people feel the power of it too? I think that's the thing that I like struggle with. Like, am I just psycho, or is this a real thing? And I've had it like affirmed to me over and over that it is a thing. And even the people I've worked with that are not super spiritual have had a great experience, but there's still that little part of me that comes up every time of like, am I actually crazy? Is this actually real? You know, are these experiences real, or am I just like, I don't know, just a little bit off?
Yes. I think healer or not healer, I think any spiritual person probably will relate to that.
Yeah.
And I actually used to do assessments, like psychological assessments. And some of the questions you ask are like, do you have experiences like the one you're describing in your body? Do you hear things? And every time I would ask those questions, I'd be like, yes, I do.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot to unpack that side as well. And actually, this is not a good segue, but I know that you do more than spirituality, obviously, but you do a lot of scientific like content where you talk about other things besides spirituality. How do you balance those different interests or those different sides of yourself?
Yeah, I feel like this is something that I'm interested in talking about because I'm in the middle of figuring out how to balance them. I don't have it all figured out.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think I've been in this internal like battle lately of like, oh, if you're a spiritual person, especially if you're like making spirituality a career in any way, or you're a healer, then like it's almost like you have to make your whole personality into like a spiritual person, and like all the
Yeah.
content you post on Instagram has to be spiritual or blah blah blah, or like I don't know. And I think I'd been fighting against being a healer for so long because whenever I thought about a healer, it was only this very particular like cookie cutter idea in my head of like, oh, I have to be posting about spirituality all the
Mhm.
time on social media. This is my whole personality. And it's just not for me. It's a very big part of my personality, one of the biggest parts of my personality, but I'm just so insanely curious and I love learning and I'm really into history. So I post on YouTube queer history and cannabis history, as well as I think it's so fascinating to look into like how people have been getting intoxicated throughout the years for all the centuries, like what's going on there, why we do what we do, like how cannabis affects their system, how alcohol affects their systems, why we're so caught up on all these things. Like I find all that so interesting and why humans do the things that they do, why they have done the things that they do throughout history, like all the things people have done throughout history. It's all just so interesting to me. And like
Yeah.
most of the time you're gonna like if I'm listening to a YouTube video or a podcast, I have my spiritual ones that I do like to listen to, especially when I'm trying to be in like a spiritual zone. But most of the time I'm listening to like a weird history like YouTube video about like some potato drought or why like arsenic was in the paint in the walls in the 1800s and stuff like that. Like I'm just so interested in that.
Mhm.
And so I feel like for me, it's this constant balance of realizing like I can be a spiritual human being and I also can have other interests, and that's okay. And like just because I don't post about spirituality all the time, I'm trying to post about it more, especially on my stories and like when I do photo dumps and stuff, just like sharing little glimpses into my life. But I don't always think of like great real ideas, like real or TikTok ideas for like spirituality. It's really hard for me to like take my spiritual experiences that are so profound and then like translate them onto social media. I think that's a
Yeah.
difficult thing for me. And I
Mhm.
try my best, but I think I've been realizing as I like had all these aspirations to just go straight spiritual mode on my Instagram and just completely transition everything. But then I
Yeah.
realized I was like pushing away these other things that I was very interested in. And like I don't necessarily need to do that. So I don't know. I guess balance, I guess this isn't very good advice necessarily, but I guess I'm just realizing that we're allowed to have different parts of our personality. We're allowed to be interested in lots of different things. And like, just because you're interested in queer history doesn't mean that you can't be like a spiritual healer, and you can have different parts of yourself and that's okay. And
Yes.
just because you're spiritual, you don't have to become like this stereotypical like yogi who like speaks very quietly or like doesn't swear or whatever. Like you can still
Mhm.
say fuck and still be spiritual.
Yes. Do you follow Sada Simone or listen to Spiritually Sassy?
Okay, I don't think I follow her, but I think I've come across her a few times.
Yeah, it's actually I think his
Oh,
pronoun
him.
him. Hmm.
Oh, okay, then no, I haven't.
I'll send you his page later. But he's so cool. He talks about that you can be spiritual and sassy and you can wear bright colors. You can be
Yeah,
gay. You don't have to like talk in the quiet, peaceful voice unless you want
yeah,
to. And I
yeah.
think that's such beautiful permission. And it sounds simple. Like
Hmm.
you said it might not be good advice, but it is because we need that permission sometimes because we're so
Hmm.
taught that our labels or the things that we identify as are the only things we can identify as. And we're nuanced
Yeah.
people who feel a lot and who are interested in a lot. So I think it's great advice.
Thank you. Yeah, we're layered, man. That's okay.
Mhm. I love it. Um, and you're enough too. It's okay that you're just posting a little bit on social media, or it's okay if you don't know how much to post. Whatever you're doing is enough because it's what you're doing.
Thank you for that validation. I appreciate that.
You're
It's
welcome.
definitely something that I like beat myself up about a lot.
Yeah.
But it's like I consciously know that it's like my worth is, or like my followers won't hate me if I only post like once a week on Instagram, you know, or like if I don't post every 2 hours on my story, like it's not, the people who care will still be there, you know. I think we as like humans we get to be so ego driven, and it's like actually people don't care as much as you think they do. Like people aren't waiting around like, oh my God, why has Ash not posted on her story in like 2 days? Like what the hell? I've been waiting to see what's going on in her life every 2 seconds, you know, like
Yeah.
I put so much pressure on myself for no good reason. I think these humans just do that. It's dumb.
We do. We definitely do it. Not the only one. I love that. Let's see. I think we chatted about everything we wanted to. This was such a great conversation. I really can't express enough how worth it I think a breathwork session with you is. And I'm like a frugal, if I don't have to spend money, I won't. There's an episode about financial health that came out maybe a month ago, 2 months ago. And I shared that like I'll let my underwears get holes in them before I get new ones. And that's so all that being said, I really think a session with you is worth it. I think it's life-changing. And even if you can only afford one, I think it's worth it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, not even just with me, but I think that pranayama breathwork is life-changing. Absolutely. So yeah, check it out, whether that's like booking with me or looking up guided ones online. I actually am planning to already have guided meditations out, guided pranayama breathwork meditations out by the time this airs. So you can check those out. Those will probably be much cheaper, but you know.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I'll look forward to that. Just on a personal note. Well, awesome, Ash. Thank you. I like to ask everyone to send the listeners home with a resource or a challenge that they can do this week.
Okay, I would say definitely, you know, okay, here's a challenge for you. I hadn't even thought about this until right now, but this is something that I've felt really guided to do, and I have not been perfect at it, but I have done it a few times, which is delete your social media for a week out of every month. I did this for a few months in a row, and then I got very behind on different projects I needed to post for Instagram, so I haven't done it recently, but I'm planning on doing it next month. It is almost life-changing as well to just like delete the apps from your phone, all social media apps from your phone. You'll realize how much you get on your phone just to like click on it absently, and how much time you get back. It makes you really start thinking like, wow, I've realized that social media is one of my hobbies and I don't really have many other hobbies. Like it will make you really force you to like think about the things you actually want to do with your life and actually do them. So I would say that is definitely my charge for you guys this week.
Oh, yes. I second that. At the end of last season, I took like 6 weeks off social media completely. I deleted it from my phone. And I was so shocked, like you said, at how much I would open my phone and go to the folder where the app was and then be like, oh shit. Yeah. It's not even there. And I don't even want to, like, I would just open it to close it again.
It's like multiple times in an hour, multiple times in a few minutes. Like you just forget. And it's made me realize how much time I just waste. I just go on there and just scroll or just like check comments or whatever. And there's so many other better things to do with your time.
Absolutely. So I love that challenge. You could do it right now.
Yeah, right now, delete it.
Now. Awesome. Thank you. So what is your Instagram, your YouTube? How can people book sessions with you? All that good stuff.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at ashmorgan.xo and on YouTube at ashmorgan. You can book. I have the link to book in all of my bios and all of my what are they called?
Links.
All of the links. Yeah. I have a bio site that's on all of my links and all my socials. And I think, did you say that you're going to put it in the show notes? Yeah, yes. The bio link will be in the show notes, so you can find me anywhere in one convenient location.
Oh, that's such a good idea. Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. This was such a treat to talk to you, and let us know what you thought of the episode, everyone, after you've deleted your social media. So let us know next week.
Yeah, let us know. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.